I spent 12 years working casino floors in Vegas, and what I saw will make you never look at those machines the same way again. My name's Jake, and for over a decade, I walked those carpeted hallways, watched thousands of people lose their money, and saw things that would make your blood boil. Today, I'm breaking my silence about the 7 illegal scams casinos have used to steal from players like you. Now, if you're like many folks who enjoy a trip to the casino, maybe you go with friends, maybe it's your weekend getaway, this video is going to change everything. Because what I'm about to reveal isn't just about bad luck or the house edge. We're talking about actual crimes, documented, prosecuted, and some so shocking that they sent people to prison. The 7th scam on this list is so unbelievable, it involved a state regulator, the very person supposed to protect you, rigging the system from the inside. But before I get to that bombshell, I need to tell you about something that happened right under everyone's noses for decades. Now, I want to be crystal clear here. These are based on real documented cases. Modern Vegas casinos are heavily monitored, and getting caught doing any of this stuff leads to shutdowns, massive fines, and prison time. But that doesn't mean it never happened. And knowing these tricks, even the historical ones, can help you spot when something doesn't feel right. Here's what's really wild though. Casinos don't actually need to cheat illegally. The games are already designed with a house edge. Slots pay out 85 to 95% over the long term, which means the house always wins eventually. But some people got greedy. Some wanted to win faster, bigger, and with absolute certainty. And that's where our story begins. The first scam I witnessed involves something you see spinning every single day in casinos. Something that looks completely innocent, completely random, but sometimes it wasn't random at all. Let me tell you about Sarah. She was a regular at one of the mid-tier casinos I worked at. Always played the same numbers on roulette, 7, 14, and 23. She'd been playing those numbers for 3 years, came in twice a week, same routine. One night she noticed something strange. The ball kept landing in the same section of the wheel. Not her section, never her section. It was subtle at first, but over several visits, the pattern became impossible to ignore. Sarah was witnessing the first illegal scam on our list, rigged roulette wheels. Now, here's how this scam works, and why it's so devastating. A normal roulette wheel has a house edge of 5.26%. That means over time, for every $100 you bet, the casino expects to keep about $5.26. Those aren't great odds for you, but they're fair odds. The game is supposed to be random. But in the 1980s and 1990s, some rogue operators, and I'm talking about documented cases that went to court, were using magnetic systems or weighted wheels to control where that ball landed. They could literally steer your money away from you. Picture this. You're standing at a roulette table, watching that ball bounce around, thinking it's pure chance. But underneath that table, there's a magnetic system that can influence where the ball stops. Or the wheel itself has been weighted so certain sections come up more often than others. You're not playing a game of chance anymore. You're playing a rigged carnival game. I remember one case that made headline. Investigators found wheels that had been subtly modified. Nothing obvious. You couldn't tell just by looking. But over thousands of spins, these wheels favored the house numbers far more than probability should allow. Players like Sarah were losing money at rates that defied mathematics. The scary part? Most players never noticed. They just thought they were having bad luck. They'd leave thinking, maybe next time, never realizing the game was fixed from the start. Here's what you need to watch for. If spins seem to favor certain sections consistently, if the ball bounces in ways that look unnatural, or if you notice patterns that seem too coincidental. Now, most modern casinos have surveillance systems that would catch this immediately, but knowing what to look for never hurts. But listen, if you think rigged wheels are bad, wait until you see what they did with something even more basic, something you actually hold in your hands, something that seems impossible to fake. The second scam involves dice, and when I tell you how they pulled this off, you're going to question every roll you've ever seen. Tommy was a craps player, loved the energy, loved the camaraderie, loved the fact that everyone at the table was rooting for the same thing. He'd been playing for 15 years and knew the game inside and out. But one night, something felt off. The dice weren't behaving right. Sevens kept coming up at the wrong times. It was subtle, but Tommy had rolled enough dice to know when something wasn't random. He was experiencing the second illegal scam, loaded dice. Now, craps normally has one of the best odds in the casino for players. The house edge is only 1.41% on the basic pass line bet. That's almost fair. But when casinos started using weighted dice, they turned a nearly fair game into a money vacuum. Here's how diabolical this scam was. In documented cases from early Vegas, and I'm talking about scandals that made national news, corrupt dealers would swap out normal dice with loaded ones during the game. These weren't obviously fake dice. They looked identical to regulation dice, but inside, the weight distribution was altered. The goal was simple: avoid sevens after the point was established. In craps, if you roll a 7 after setting a point, everyone at the pass line loses. So these loaded dice were designed to make sevens come up more often at exactly the wrong times for players. Picture yourself at a crowded craps table. Everyone's excited, money's on the line, and the dealer smoothly swaps out the dice while everyone's watching the action. You never see it happen. The new dice look and feel identical to the old ones, but now the probability that built the game's reputation has been thrown out the window. I've seen grown men lose thousands of dollars in minutes because of this scam. They thought they were just having an unlucky streak. They had no idea the dice were working against them in ways that violated every gaming law on the books. The worst part is how they covered it up. When players started noticing patterns or complaining, the dealers would simply swap back to normal dice for a few rolls, let players win a little, then switch them out again. It was psychological warfare. This scam was prosecuted as a felony under Nevada Revised Statute 465.083. People went to prison for this, but the damage was already done. Thousands of players lost money they could never recover. Here's what you should know. You have the right to inspect dice in most casinos. If something feels wrong, ask questions. Look for dice that seem to favor certain numbers consistently. Trust your instincts. But if you think loaded dice are sophisticated, the third scam is going to blow your mind. This one happens right in front of your face, with the dealer's hands in plain view, and most people never catch it. The third scam involves the one game where skill can actually matter, where smart players can reduce the house edge to almost nothing, except when the dealer isn't dealing fairly. Margaret had been playing blackjack for 20 years. She knew basic strategy cold, could count cards well enough to get herself banned from half the casinos in town. She was one of those rare players who actually had an edge over the house. But one evening at a downtown casino, something was wrong. The cards weren't coming out right. Good cards seemed to disappear. The dealer was getting perfect hands with impossible frequency. Margaret was witnessing the third illegal scam: false deals and shuffles in blackjack. Blackjack is supposed to be one of the most honest games in the casino. With perfect basic strategy, the house edge is only about 0.5%. Some skilled players can actually gain an advantage, but that's only true if the cards are being dealt fairly. In documented cases from the 1990s, including schemes connected to major Vegas properties, dealers were trained in techniques that would make your head spin. They could deal you the second card instead of the top card, keeping the good cards for themselves. They could perform fake shuffles that looked completely legitimate, but actually kept certain cards in predetermined positions. Here's the part that'll make you angry. They specifically targeted older players. The reasoning was cold and calculated. Older players often play more conservatively, bet smaller amounts over longer periods. Perfect targets for a scam that needed to fly under the radar. Let me explain how the false dealing worked. You're sitting at a blackjack table, watching the dealer shuffle. Everything looks normal. The dealer even lets you cut the cards. But what you don't know is that the shuffle was fake. The cards are in the exact order the dealer wants them. Now you're playing, and instead of getting the top card from the deck, you're getting the second card. The dealer has glimpsed the top card and knows it's good for the house, so you get the card underneath it, and the good card stays in position to help the dealer later. This technique is called dealing seconds, and it requires incredible skill. Crooked dealers would practice for months to make it look natural. The card comes off the deck so smoothly that even experienced players can't tell the difference. The fake shuffling was even more insidious. The dealer would go through all the motions of shuffling, even let you cut the deck, but the cards would end up in predetermined sequences. High-value cards would be positioned to favor the house. You thought you were playing against chance, but you were actually playing against a stacked deck. I watched players lose their entire retirement savings to this scam. Good players, smart players, people who knew the game better than most dealers. But all the skill in the world doesn't matter when the deck is stacked against you. The psychological impact was devastating. These players started doubting their own abilities. They thought they'd forgotten how to play, that their luck had turned permanently bad. Some never played again. Here's your protection. Play at busy tables where other players can see the action. Learn basic strategy well enough that unusual patterns become obvious. And if something feels wrong, if the dealer's hands seem too perfect, if good cards aren't appearing when they should, trust your instincts and move to another table. But listen, everything I've told you so far involves human manipulation, real people doing real sleight of hand. The fourth scam is where technology entered the picture, and when casinos started rigging machines, the scale of theft became astronomical. This next scam involves the very machines most people trust the most, the machines that seem too complex to be manipulated, too regulated to be crooked. Ernest loved video poker. He'd sit at the same machine for hours, playing perfect strategy, chasing those royal flush jackpots. He understood the math, knew the odds, and accepted that he'd lose small amounts consistently for the chance at those big payouts. But over months of play, something started bothering him. Royal flushes seemed to disappear right when he was playing maximum coins. He'd get 4 cards to a royal, hit the draw button, and somehow never get that 5th card. It happened too often to be coincidence. Ernest was being robbed by the fourth illegal scam, rigged video poker and slot machines. This one's particularly evil because it targeted the machines that seniors trust most. Video poker in particular appeals to older players because it involves skill. Unlike pure slot machine, video poker rewards players who know optimal strategy, or at least it's supposed to. The American coin scandal of the 1980s changed everything we thought we knew about machine integrity. This wasn't some small-time operation. This was a major gaming manufacturer programming machines to cheat on a massive scale. Here's what they did, and it's going to make your blood boil. The machines were programmed to recognize when players were betting maximum coins, exactly when the biggest jackpots would pay out. At that moment, the software would prevent royal flushes from appearing. Players like Ernest would get dealt 4 cards to a royal, but the machine would ensure the 5th card never came. Think about how diabolical this is. Video poker is supposed to have a return to player percentage of 90 to 98% over the long term. That means for every $100 you put in, you should get back between $90 and $98 on average. Not great odds, but honest odds. But these rigged machines were programmed to deny the biggest payouts exactly when they would cost the casino the most money. The return to player percentage became essentially zero for the jackpots that mattered most. The psychological damage was incredible. Players started believing they were cursed, that machines could somehow sense when they were betting big. They began reducing their bets, playing more conservatively, thinking they could outsmart the machines. But you can't outsmart a computer program designed to steal from you. I remember watching Ernest that final night before the scandal broke. He'd been chasing the same royal flush for 6 hours. Got close maybe a dozen times. Never quite made it. He left that night convinced he'd lost his touch, that video poker had somehow gotten harder. 2 weeks later, the news broke. American Coin was shut down. Machines were seized. Federal investigators found programming code that specifically targeted maximum bet scenarios. Ernest wasn't losing his touch. He was being systematically robbed by software. The company executives faced federal charges. Some went to prison, but the money was gone. Players like Ernest never got compensated for their losses. They just had to live with the knowledge that their bad luck was actually criminal theft. Here's what you need to know. Modern machines are heavily regulated and tested, but always check for certification stickers. Play progressive jackpots only on machines that have been independently audited. And if a machine's behavior seems too strange to be random, report it to the Nevada Gaming Control Board. But if you think programming machines to steal jackpots is bad, the 5th scam goes even deeper. This one involves promotions that were designed to give you hope while stealing your money. Contests where the winners were chosen before you ever entered. The 5th scam is about fake hope, and it's going to make you question every casino promotion you've ever seen. Helen had been entering the weekly car giveaway at her local casino for 8 months. Every week, she'd dutifully put her player's card in the slot machine, earn her entries, and dream about driving home in that beautiful red Corvette they had displayed in the lobby. She knew the odds were long, but she also knew someone had to win. The casino posted the rules clearly. Everything seemed fair and legitimate. Every week, they drew a name from the barrel in front of hundreds of witnesses. What Helen didn't know was that she never had a chance. The winner had been chosen before the first entry was collected. Helen was the victim of the 5th illegal scam, rigged drawings and promotions. This scam hits differently because it targets hope. These weren't just games with bad odds. These were fake contests designed to create the illusion of possibility, while guaranteeing that only predetermined winners would ever receive prizes. The documented case that broke this scam wide open happened at the Venetian in 2002. They were running a major car giveaway promotion, advertising it throughout Las Vegas, encouraging players to visit and earn entries through slot play. Thousands of people participated. Seniors like Helen, attracted by the combination of gambling excitement and the dream of winning something substantial, spent countless hours feeding machines to earn entries. The casino collected entry fees, sold more drinks, kept people gambling longer. Everyone was happy, except the contest was fake. Investigators discovered that casino management had predetermined the winner before the promotion even began. All those entries, all that excitement, all those dreams. It was theater designed to extract money from hopeful players. Here's how they pulled it off. The drawing itself was real. They had a barrel. They drew names. Witnesses watched. But the barrel was filled with duplicate entries for the predetermined winner. Your entry was never actually in the running. The psychological manipulation was sophisticated and cruel. They'd announce near winners, people who came close, to maintain the illusion that anyone could win. They'd show security footage of the random selection process. Everything looked legitimate, but behind the scenes, they were laughing at players like Helen. They'd collected thousands of dollars in additional gambling revenue from people chasing a prize that was never available to them. The worst part? This wasn't just about one car. Investigation revealed that multiple promotions at various casinos had been rigged in similar ways. Cash drawings, vacation packages, electronics, contests that seniors trusted because they were held by licensed casinos in plain view of hundreds of witnesses. Helen never found out until she read about the scandal in the newspaper. By then, she'd lost hundreds of dollars in additional gambling, chasing entries for a contest she could never win. The casino paid a fine, but Helen never got her money back. The regulatory response was swift and harsh. Nevada Gaming Control Board implemented strict oversight requirements for all casino promotions. Random drawing procedures now require independent oversight. Casino executives face serious jail time if caught rigging contests, but the damage to trust was permanent. Players like Helen started questioning every promotion, every contest, every promise of something for nothing. Here's your protection. Read promotion rules completely. Look for language about independent oversight of drawings. Don't let promotional dreams drive increased gambling. And remember, if a promotion seems too good to be true, investigate before you invest significant money chasing entries. But if fake contests make you angry, the sixth scam is going to enrage you. This one involved promises sent directly to your mailbox, official-looking documents that seemed to guarantee amazing payouts, except they were lies designed to separate you from your money. The sixth scam targets your mailbox, your trust, and your dreams of financial security. Robert opened his mail one Tuesday afternoon and found what looked like an official notification from a major Las Vegas casino. The letter congratulated him on being selected for a special high roller promotion, guaranteed payouts, exclusive machines, VIP treatment. The letter looked official, professional letterhead, fancy graphics, even what appeared to be a signature from the casino president. Robert had been to this casino before, so receiving promotional mail didn't seem strange. But when Robert made the trip to Las Vegas, spent his money, and tried to claim his guaranteed payouts, casino staff told him the promotion didn't exist. The letter was fake, the signatures were forgeries, and Robert was out of luck. Robert was the victim of the sixth illegal scam, false advertising on payouts. This scam is particularly cruel because it specifically targeted seniors through the mail, taking advantage of their trust in written communications and their desire for financial security. The documented cases from the 1990s reveal a sophisticated mail fraud operation that reached thousands of elderly Americans. These weren't random scam letters from obvious criminals. These were professional quality communications that appeared to come directly from legitimate, licensed Las Vegas casinos. Here's how the scam worked. Criminal organizations would purchase mailing lists of casino visitors, particularly older adults who had visited Las Vegas in the past year. Then they'd create fake promotional materials that looked absolutely authentic. The letters would promise guaranteed payouts, special machine access, or exclusive membership in high roller clubs. They'd include realistic-looking vouchers, official casino logos, and language that made the offers seem legally binding. Everything was designed to look like legitimate casino marketing. But here's the evil part. The promises were specifically designed to be impossible to verify until victims had already traveled to Las Vegas and spent money. By the time Robert discovered the promotion was fake, he'd already paid for flights, hotels, and initial gambling. The criminals were counting on victims being too embarrassed or financially drained to pursue legal action. The psychological impact was devastating. These victims felt stupid, embarrassed, and angry. They'd trusted official-looking documents from companies they thought they knew. Many never reported the crimes because they felt foolish for falling for what seemed obvious in hindsight. Investigation revealed that the scam generated millions of dollars by targeting thousands of seniors across the country. The criminals understood that older adults were more likely to trust written communications, more likely to have disposable income for gambling trips, and less likely to be familiar with modern fraud tactics. Robert lost nearly $2,000 on his fraudulent Vegas trip. By the time he realized he'd been scammed, the criminals had moved on to new victims. Law enforcement eventually caught some of the perpetrators, but Robert never recovered his losses. The federal mail fraud charges carried serious prison sentences. Several scammers received multi-year sentences for targeting elderly victims. But the damage to trust was permanent. Seniors became suspicious of all casino promotions, even legitimate ones. Here's your protection. Independently verify all promotional offers by calling casinos directly using phone numbers from their official websites. Never trust promotional materials that arrive unsolicited in the mail. Research any offers that seem too good to be true. And remember, legitimate casinos don't need to make exaggerated promises to attract customers. But listen, everything I've told you so far involved criminals working outside the system or rogue employees breaking the law. The seventh and final scam is different. This one came from inside the system itself, from the very people who were supposed to protect players like you. What I'm about to reveal involves corruption at the highest levels of casino regulation, and it's going to change how you think about who you can trust. Ron Harris seemed like the perfect public servant. As a senior computer programmer for the Nevada Gaming Control Board, he was responsible for ensuring that slot machines and Keno games operated fairly. Players trusted him, casinos respected him, and his job was to be the watchdog protecting everyone's interests. But for years, Ron Harris was actually working for the criminals. In what became known as one of the biggest gaming scandals in Nevada history, Harris used his position inside the regulatory system to rig slot machines and Keno games, stealing millions of dollars from unsuspecting players. This is the seventh and most shocking illegal scam: corrupt regulator and employee rigging. Harris had access to the source code for slot machines and Keno systems throughout Nevada. His job was to test these systems, ensure they operated randomly, and certify that they met legal requirements for fair play. Instead, he was secretly modifying the code to ensure certain machines paid out to his accomplices while stealing from regular players. Here's how diabolical this was. When you played a slot machine that Harris had rigged, you weren't just playing against bad odds. You were playing against a system designed by the very person who was supposed to ensure your protection. The house edge wasn't just higher than advertised. It was manipulated by someone with complete insider knowledge. The psychological betrayal was absolute. Players trusted that government oversight meant games were fair. They believed that regulatory agencies were protecting their interests. But Harris turned the entire system into a criminal enterprise designed to steal from the people it was supposed to protect. Harris worked with a network of accomplices who would play the rigged machines at predetermined times, winning jackpots that were programmed to pay out. Meanwhile, regular players like you would lose money at rates that exceeded even the casino's expectations. The sophistication of this scam was unprecedented. Harris could modify machine software remotely, schedule payouts for specific times, and cover his tracks by making the modifications look like normal software updates. He had legitimate access to systems that criminals could only dream of reaching. But Harris got greedy, and greed led to his downfall. The payouts to his accomplices became too frequent, too large, and too convenient. Casino security started noticing patterns. Players were winning jackpots with suspicious timing. Independent investigators found statistical anomalies that couldn't be explained by chance. When authorities finally caught Harris, they discovered he'd stolen millions of dollars over several years, not just from casinos, but from players who never had a fair chance at the games they trusted. His accomplices had won rigged jackpots, while regular players lost money to machines that were programmed to cheat. Harris received a significant prison sentence, but the damage to public trust was permanent. How could players ever feel confident that games were fair when the very person responsible for ensuring fairness had become the biggest criminal of all? The Nevada Gaming Control Board completely overhauled their oversight procedures after the Harris scandal. They implemented independent verification systems, required multiple approvals for software changes, and added layers of security that made insider manipulation far more difficult. But the lesson remains. When corruption reaches the regulatory level, no one is safe. The people with the most power to protect also have the most power to harm. Here's what you should know. Modern slot machines and electronic games are now subject to independent audits by multiple agencies. Software changes require approval from several oversight bodies. bodies. The regulatory structure has been redesigned to prevent another Harris-style scandal. But trust your instincts. If machines seem to be behaving in ways that don't match your experience or expectations, report your concerns to regulatory authorities. The gaming industry depends on player confidence, and legitimate operators want to know about problems. Now that you know about these 7 illegal scams, I want to put everything in perspective for you. These are historical cases, documented crimes that led to prosecutions, prison sentences, and major changes in how casinos operate. Modern Las Vegas casinos face too much scrutiny, too many oversight agencies, and too many cameras to risk these illegal tactics. Gaming Control Board inspectors, federal investigators, and independent auditors make it virtually impossible to get away with the scams I've described. But that doesn't mean casinos stopped trying to influence your behavior. They just shifted to legal psychological tactics that are often more effective than outright cheating. Think about the last time you were in a casino. Did you notice any clocks on the walls? Any windows showing natural light? Probably not. Casinos are designed to make you lose track of time, to keep you playing longer than you intended. Those free drinks aren't hospitality. They're designed to impair your judgment and make you take bigger risks. The constant sounds from slot machines, the near-miss noises that make you think you almost won, the maze-like layouts that make it hard to find the exit. These are all legal tricks designed to keep you gambling longer and betting more. The comp systems that give you free meals and rooms aren't gifts. They're calculated to make you feel obligated to return and spend more money than the comps are worth. Every benefit you receive is carefully designed to increase your lifetime gambling losses. But here's the thing. Knowing these tactics gives you power. When you understand that free drinks are meant to cloud your judgment, you can choose to stay sober. When you know that casinos want you to lose track of time, you can set specific time limits before you start playing. For folks in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond, the key is treating casino visits as entertainment expenses, not investment opportunities. Set a loss limit before you walk through the door. Decide how much money you can afford to lose and stop playing when you reach that limit. Take regular breaks. Step outside, see natural light, check your watch. Don't let the casino's psychological tricks override your common sense. If something feels wrong, if dealers seem too lucky, if machines aren't paying as advertised, if promotions don't match their descriptions, contact the Nevada Gaming Control Board immediately. They take player complaints seriously because their reputation depends on maintaining fair games. Remember, the house always has an edge, but that edge should be mathematical, not criminal. You deserve to know that when you're playing against bad odds, at least they're honest bad odds. Most importantly, never gamble with money you can't afford to lose. Never chase losses with bigger bets, and never let casino comps or promotional offers drive you to spend more than you planned. The real way to beat the casino isn't by finding a system or hoping for luck. It's by understanding exactly what you're up against and making informed decisions about how much entertainment you're willing to pay for. If this video opened your eyes to what really happens behind casino doors, hit that like button. Subscribe for more insider secrets from someone who's actually worked the floor and seen it all. And tell me in the comments below, have you ever experienced something at a casino that didn't feel right? I read every comment and I'd love to hear your stories. Stay smart out there, folks.